Encounter, which is in Deep Ellum, Dallas, as they have been extremely generous, asking nothing in return to let us stream at their venue in front of this live audience and in front of you. So we are honestly so indebted to them and really appreciate their willingness to host us. Also want to say thanks so much to our speakers, as this is going to be a very special one, folks. I think it's going to be a very deep and interesting conversation, and we want to let you know, whether you be a flat earther, a glober, whether you be a Christian, atheist, Republican, Democrat, we are glad you are here. We hope you feel welcome. And if it's your first time, consider hitting that subscribe button, as we've got a lot more debates coming up. In fact, tomorrow we've got two alone, including Matt Dillahunty going against inspiring philosophy on whether or not there are good reasons to believe that God exists. So, with that, folks, very excited. Want to let you know both of our speakers, we're very thankful for them, and their links are in the description. So if you are listening and you hear and you're like, man, I want more, I need to hear more of this right now, you can by clicking on their link in the description box just below, just down there. So with that, we're going to have Team Skeptic starting today. He's going to be basically making a 10-minute flexible opening statement. And then we will have Nathan making his 10-minute flexible opening statement. And by flexible, I mean 8 to 12 minutes. And following that, we'll have open discussion followed by Q&A. So if you do have a question, feel free to fire that question into the live chat. And as always, super chats will go to the top of the list, and they also allow you to make a comment. We do ask, given that both of our speakers are doing this completely for free, we do ask, would you please show the most respect you can in your questions or super chats, as we are really indebted to have them on this channel. The debaters really are the lifeblood of the channel, and so we really do appreciate them and hope that you can show them that warmth as well. So with that, very excited, folks, I'm going to hand it over to Team Skeptic, who is going to make his case. Thanks so much, both of you, for being here.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for hosting this. I've said this since finding your channel, that I love what you do. I love the fact that you give platforms to ridiculous ideas. I do believe that the flat earth is an absolutely most ridiculous idea in the entire world, because we actually walk this planet, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of stupid to believe that. I can see how other people might fall victim to things that are hard to prove by themselves, but at the same time, the earth is something you can prove by yourself. I'll show you how to do it tonight. The first thing I want to do is first say thank you to my sponsor and the people that are hosting this event for us, and that's Artistic Encounter. They are amazing people. They do amazing tattoo work. If you're in Dallas, you definitely got to check them out. Check out some of the artwork on their website, aetattoo.com. And then, of course, I said thank you to James. And Bell Girl, would you come here, please? Okay, so for tonight's debate, I said that I was going to go and get me a really nice new shiny dinger to use. It's all right. Yeah, so let me unmask the dinger for you guys so you see it's brand new, fresh, never been dinged before. Okay. So anyway, as we come across ridiculous ideas and expose them for their ridiculousness, we will be hitting the dinger as well. Now, let me get my notes for my 3 different proofs, and I'm going to step off because will you pull up the accelerometer video? Now, the accelerometer is something that every phone is built in with. Everybody here has a smartphone, I'm sure, and if you don't, it's unfortunate, but okay, so the accelerometer.
Okay, the blue line is showing that I have 1G of force. Let's drop my phone. 3, 2.
On their phone. This is the demonstration right here that I want to show. I'm going to step.
Okay, the blue.
All right, in this demonstration.
Okay, the blue line is showing that I have 1G of force. Let's drop my phone. 3, 2.
When not accelerating is at 1G in the vector of the center of the Earth. Now, in this video, as you see, go ahead and
see how it jumped up to 0 there.
As you see, when the accelerometer is in free fall, it actually.
Okay, the blue line is showing that I have 1G
acceleration vector that it's basically feeling.
See how it jumped up to 0 there?
What's called a test mass, and the test mass, when in a accelerating state, will demonstrate inertial forces. These are what the phone is reading, and in its natural state, the accelerometer does read 9.8 meters per second squared. directly towards the ground. Give me 1 second to get my next piece up. Okay, now if you'll go, I'm going to go back over here. Go to the one called bubbles. Okay, now this is a practical demonstration. Give it 1 second before you start it, Stephen. Okay, this is a practical demonstration that anybody can do at home. What you can do is this is actually bubbles in free fall. When you have bubbles that are not in free fall, is it loading up?
So to
Okay, go ahead.
get rid of that, I'll remove the box altogether and
Okay,
just
when the
attach
bubbles
the
are not in
GoPro
free
to the
fall,
water
obviously
bottle.
bubbles rise to
You
the
won't be
top
able to
due
see
to
the
the
bubbles
buoyant force.
quite as well, but you
However,
can still
when it's
see
in
what's
free
going
fall,
on.
you do
And there'll be a
lose the
lot less
gravitational
wind
vector
resistance, so a lot
that
closer to
defines in
zero
what direction
G.
the buoyant
Let's see what
force really
happens.
operates.
Okay, water
So when
bottle
this
drop
bottle is
without a
dropped,
box.
You'll notice
3,
that the bubbles
2,
will not
1,
rise. They'll
drop.
actually hover in place, and this is due to no gravitational vector being felt by the bubbles. All right. Go to the next. Also, you'll notice, I want to point out one other thing. You'll notice that before the bottle goes into free fall, the bubbles are actually not circular. They're kind of compressed down a little bit, and this is due to the pressure on the bottom side of the bubble being different than the pressure on the top. When dropped, you'll notice that there is no pressure being applied to the bubble, and the bubble actually just forms a sphere. You can go ahead and roll it. Go ahead. Oh, was that it? Okay, yeah, that's it. Okay. So the last thing I want to say about gravity, and we'll go to the ciliate loxodus video. I've showed this one before, but I already know that my opponent is going to say, well, you can't use unnatural stuff. You can only use natural observations. So this right here is the ciliate loxodus. It's built with a natural organic accelerometer inside of it. And this is due to the fact that the ciliate loxodus has to know which way is up and down so that it can find the most optimal environment for it to live in. If it gets into an environment that has less oxygen in it, then it knows that it's too deep and it needs to go in the opposite direction of the gravitational vector. So this right here is a natural organic accelerometer, so that way when people say, oh, I can't use it because it's not a natural thing, it's programmed, this and that. No, it's not. That's completely natural right there. Second point, curvature. Well, you go to the blink test, and I'm going to go ahead and step back over here again so I can narrate what you're showing. Okay, this test was done by Red's Rhetoric, and this was done in, I believe Tampa Bay is in the video. It's a test showing two different observations, one from one side of a bay and the other from the other side of the bay, or closer to it. And as you can see, there is a huge something that's blocking all the buildings that are obviously still there and not being able to be seen in the video. The blink test is designed to show you that it's not just optical compression, it's not looming, it's not anything else that anybody's going to say it is. It's taken with a Canon P1000, the camera, flat earther camera of choice, or whatever you want to call it. So there's going to be no, it's programmed. These are optical devices that flat earthers basically live with and live by. We're going to let this just roll. It kind of is self-explanatory. Is it playing the audio from the video by chance? Okay, it's not. No, it's fine. Okay, as you see, this is taken from one side of the bay, and you can actually see the horizon, the Tampa Bay horizon, or Tampa Bay on the horizon, I'm sorry. The next picture will be taken from, The next picture will be taken from a much closer point of view. We'll show the rest of the skyline that's being hidden. And then there's also, it's been shown so that you can compare the tops of the two buildings, so that you can eliminate any kind of perspective argument or anything like that. No, the buildings are all lined up. The tops of the buildings are all lined up. But from one point of view, when you're further away, there's a significant portion of the lower half of the buildings that are being blocked by something. And guys, you can say whatever you want it to say, but you know what it is. It's the curvature of the earth. All right, now we'll go to Mr. Bob Noodle. If you'll bring him up, please. This is a demonstration of rotation. Rotation, see, here's the funny thing. The surface of the earth can be treated as if it's a single frame of reference, okay? So that means that as we, in this single frame of reference, if we have something that's, let's say we put something that's a ballistic missile, we shoot it from the equator. If the Earth is not spinning, this missile should stay along the same line. If we, let's say we fire it due north, it should stay due north. We should never see any kind of movement left or right from the missile. Any kind of movement would violate Newton's first laws of motion, which say that objects that are in motion will stay in motion, and they'll stay in motion at the same rate unless a force is acting upon them. Now here's the thing, the rocket really is still not violating Newton's first law. It's still maintaining a direct flight. It's ballistic. It can't change. It's off the surface of the Earth. It's just traveling in a straight line. But to us on the Earth, since we're rotating, it appears to deflect in the direction of rotation when fired away from the equator. Now, this right here, this will demonstrate a practical demonstration, because not everybody has ballistic missiles sitting around, nor does anybody have expensive laser or fiber optic gyroscopes. But a flat earther did go out and get one for his demonstration to prove that the Earth didn't rotate, and this was his result, obviously. You can go ahead and play the audio on this one, since everybody loves hearing Bob Noodle's voice so much.
There is no rotation to the Earth. One of the people in the community actually purchased one for $20,000. But what we found is when we turned on that gyroscope, we found that we were picking up a drift, a 15-degree-per-hour drift.
Go Bob. Keep doing experiments like these. Help prove my point daily.
All right.
Oh, it's done? Okay. So those are my points. Those are irrefutable points. There's not going to be a way of explaining this. I'd love to hear somebody try. Somebody who's a little bit more qualified than my opponent, but at the same time, that's what I'm left to deal with at this point. I'll concede my time to the moderator, and he can pass it on over to that guy.
Thank you very much, Team Skeptic, for that opening statement. We will now be
Oh, I'm sorry.
we will now be switching it over to Nathan Thompson, and we again appreciate both these speakers being here, as we want to give everybody a fair case or a fair chance to make their case on an equal playing field. So we'll have same thing, flexible opening statement, 8 to 10, 12 minutes. And Nathan Thompson, thanks so much. The floor is all yours.
This microphone 1 second. All right, hopefully you guys can hear me. I want to say thank you to James for inviting me out here to do the debate. I really appreciate that. He flew me in from South Carolina, so much appreciated. Thanks Team Skeptic for being here to talk about whether or not the Earth is a tilted cartoon spinning ball or the flat stationary Earth that we all observe. The first point I'd like to go over is, does the Earth spin? Now we're taught in mainstream science that the Earth spins 1,039 miles an hour at the equator. Well, there's two problems with that, and that is it would create one of two effects. Either the atmosphere would rotate as a cohesive body with the Earth, moving with the Earth, or there will be what science calls a Coriolis effect, and the atmosphere would move separately from the Earth. So first I want to go over the atmosphere moving cohesively as one synchronous body. There's a problem with that, and the problem is that Earth's atmosphere would have to increase in velocity the higher you go up. So as an airplane takes off from the ground, it's moving at 1,039 miles an hour, but as it extends its radius from the Earth, it would have to increase in velocity, and that means that all that atmosphere would also have to be increasing in velocity. The problem with that is there's no force that would cause that. Gravity allegedly pulls all things down, not sideways. So I choose to reject this hypothesis because a column of air will not move as one cohesive body as a result of moving your hand back and forth or as a result of the Earth spinning 1,000 miles an hour. And what I mean by that is if I move my notebook left to right in front of my face, all the air above my notebook is not also moving left to right. That's not how fluid dynamics work. So this is also not even what mainstream science teaches. So if anyone tells you that the Earth's atmosphere moves with the Earth, they, one, deny mainstream science, and two, they presuppose Earth's movement. And they'll talk about how, well, if you're in a train moving straight and you throw a ball in the air, the ball comes right back down. Yeah, well, if you're in a train that's not moving at all and you throw the ball in the air, it also comes right back down. So not a good argument. Now, this is what science teaches, is that there is an atmospheric blender effect or a Coriolis effect. What would really happen if the Earth spun, guys? This is an indisputable law of fluid dynamics. What would happen is it would move faster towards the center or the surface of Earth, like a blender, and it would move slower towards the outer regions. The problem is we don't observe this either, because Earth's atmosphere does not move separately from the Earth. Observe a hot air balloon or a helicopter or a drone, smoke in the air. Airplanes traveling east to west do not have drastic differences in journey times from airplanes traveling west to east. So, as we see here, consequences of a spinning Earth and atmosphere, guys, there would be drastic differences in journey times traveling east as opposed to traveling west if the Earth spun 1,000 miles an hour. I mean, even with a 29-mile-an-hour crosswind, airplanes have a hard time landing. So to think that the Earth is moving 1,000 miles an hour when they can barely land at 29 miles an hour is pretty much ridiculous. That's my first argument, is that the Earth doesn't spin. It doesn't work if there is an alleged Coriolis effect. It doesn't work if the atmosphere moves with the Earth. My second argument is that the atmosphere would cease to exist on the heliocentric model because of the second law of thermodynamics. Could the atmosphere even exist without a physical barrier? So space is allegedly an infinite vacuum, okay? And then we have 19.7 pressure here at sea level, and I'll agree there is a gradient because Earth's atmosphere is what's called a closed dynamic system. The gas in our atmosphere is inhomogeneous and anisotropic, so it's moving around and it's different in all directions. But the necessary antecedent to all gas pressure, be it static or dynamic systems, is closed container. If it's not closed, the high pressure systems move towards the low pressure systems. Same thing when you put your hand on a burning stove. The hot moves into your hand and you'll experience a burn on your hand. If you have a vacuum next to a pressurized atmosphere, the high pressure system, the pressurized atmosphere, would move into the vacuum. So an analogy I like to use, it's like asking, can a tire rim have air pressure around it without a tire while in a vacuum? Or could a tire rim have a pressure gradient around it without a tire in a vacuum? The answer is no. It's just common sense, but it's also law of entropy. That's why if you look up pictures of the South Pole, pictures of satellites, pictures of Earth's solar system, they are all cartoons. The heliocentric religion is based on cartoon cosmology, outdated pseudoscience. Real science needs an observation, a hypothesis, and then rigorous experimentation. You cannot simply observe something and then declare what is happening, which is what we saw here with the ring laser gyro. And if you're going to observe and declare that that is Earth rotation being measured by the ring laser gyro, well then I would ask, well, why is Bob Nodell, when he does the test at 14,000 feet, he's experiencing over 1 degree difference in alleged Earth rotation when he changes altitude at the same latitude? So if you're at the same latitude, Earth should be all moving at the same speed, but when you take that ring laser gyroscope and you move down in elevation, you experience over 1 degree change in Earth rotation? No, that doesn't even make sense. It's not measuring Earth rotation. It's simply a fallacy called affirming the consequent, where you observe and declare. If P, then Q, P happens, so Q. All that we witness in a ring laser gyro is light moving. We do not witness Earth moving. There's no naturally occurring phenomenon for that, and there is no independent variable for that. So when Team says that's an experiment, he is wrong. He is scientifically illiterate. He doesn't know what an experiment is, okay? So those are my 2 main points. Earth doesn't move, and without a barrier, we wouldn't have a pressurized atmosphere. Not sure if that's around 10 minutes, but do I still have some time? Stephen, do you know?
About 1 more minute.
All right, great. He said an accelerometer proves gravity because there's a 9.8 meters per second acceleration downward being measured. I'll agree things fall at 9.8 meters per second, but the problem with gravity is that Newton never formulated a hypothesis, which is required for the scientific method, and then that evolved into bendy space-time, which is Einsteinian theoretical physics, which has no practical application to reality. So, thank you for my
With
time.
that, thank you very much, Nathan, for that opening statement. Now we will go into the part that makes me feel the most nervous and excited at the same time. This will be the open discussion section. So hold me accountable in the live chat. If I am in any way biased, do call it out. I'm going to try to be as fair as possible, just in terms of making sure that each person gets to make their case with roughly the same amount of time. And so thank you very much, gentlemen, for your opening statements, and we will now go into the open discussion time.
Great. You said Earth curves at 24 miles. You could observe it from the other side of the bay at Tampa. I would like to know, how can Chicago be seen from 57 miles away? Also, I have 6 lighthouses here. Well, just Chicago. How can you see it from 60 miles away if Earth curves 0.666 feet per mile squared? According to AutoCAD, Pythagorean theorem, and Sujita, you would have to have a downward vertical drop in all directions. So if that is happening, why can we see Chicago from the other side of Lake Michigan?
I mean, it's already been described and proven several times as to why you can see it on certain days. Not every day, certain days. And you know this, so there's no point in even bringing up something that's an irrelevant point, or an irrelevant observation. That's not even an observation I brought up. I brought up the Tampa Bay one, which was at a much closer distance and didn't rely on atmospheric conditions to make that observation. The observation can be made by anybody tomorrow if they want. They can be made the next day or yesterday. It can be made at any time, because the observations at that distance, the atmospheric conditions at that distance aren't really playing a role in the observation that I'm presenting as evidence.
So at what
That
distance do atmospheric conditions play a role?
Well, there's absolute atmospheric conditions that play a role in
So they play a role in
refraction and I mean, the miraging that can happen from temperature inversion. Those are different than what I was showing in my presentation. So to argue a point that I'm not even bringing up without you even being knowledgeable or having any evidence to support, you're just making a blanket comment of, oh, well, what about this one observation I saw on YouTube? You didn't make the observation. You don't know the guy that made the observation. You don't know
I've been to Chicago. I did the Lake Michigan test. I did it myself. I've been there.
Where's your evidence?
What do you mean? We can pull up my YouTube video of me in Chicago.
Where's your evidence?
Okay,
pull
but also,
pull up your evidence of you
all
in
right,
Chicago.
here's my evidence right here. Anyone can go on Google Earth, type in Chicago, Illinois. Okay, turn on photos in left-hand column. Find this photo taken from the beach. Am I still sharing my screen, Stephen? Excellent. Find this photo taken from the beach. Download the photo and examine it yourself. Okay. So if the Earth's a globe in the size and shape that we've been taught, then only the top 340 feet of the Sears Willis Tower would be visible from this picture, which is my evidence on Google Earth. Anyone can pull up. So the Willis Tower
the refractive index for that day.
The Willis Tower is 1,000.
The refractive index. You know this. You're willing to present the evidence, a visual observation with the evidence of refraction that with the refractive index to back up that what we're seeing is something that we should see every day and not just under certain circumstances.
So refraction is going to cause the Willis Tower to come up above 1,014 feet of curvature.
Sure. Why not? I can actually bring up a video online showing extreme refraction in completely altered atmospheric environments that you would never believe that could even possibly be. We're talking about light bending around objects that's clearly looking at it before the atmosphere is densed around it by the pouring of I believe it was liquid butane on it, super cooled butane, which simulated the environment to being in a highly refractive environment. And what do you know? The light comes colors you can't even see. Now all of a sudden they're bright as fuck, like they're right there the whole time. But what was that? Well, what is it? It's refraction, right? Extreme refraction.
So your argument is that we're not actually seeing the object, it's a mirage.
No, my argument with that is that you don't have any of the evidence to support that what you're seeing is not a mirage.
Well, it has none of the characteristics of a mirage. It has.
How do you know? Are you all of a sudden some kind of visual expert? I don't think you're a visual expert.
Do you know any of the characteristics of a mirage?
Do you even know what a refractive index is or how to calculate it?
I said it has no characteristics of
Right,
a mirage.
your characteristics.
Right, and then you said
How do
I'm
you
not
know-
qualified.
How do you know it does not have
You
characteristics?
said I'm not qualified,
Right.
so I
You're
was just
making
wondering.
a statement. Back your statement up with proof.
Do you
How
know
that
any of the
there's-
characteristics for a mirage? Yes or no?
That's irrelevant. I'm
No, it's
asking
not,
you,
because
are you okay? That's
You're saying
irrelevant.
it was a mirage.
No, I'm saying, do you know? How do you know it's not? How do you know personally know it's not?
And then I said it has none of the characteristics of
And
a
I
mirage.
said, and I asked you, what are your characteristics of what makes you such a professional at visual observations that you know what a mirage looks like and what it does not look like?
Well, do you know what the characteristics of a
You
mirage
can't even
are?
tell me what a refractive index
one
is
second,
or how to
one second.
calculate it. Why would I even listen to you on
One
this
second.
topic?
Just
Go to the next topic.
Just to be on the same plane. So the characteristics of a mirage, like if we're able to kind of hash, thanks so much. If we're able to kind of hash out the characteristics of a mirage and actually discuss them, like I think that'll kind of directly hit the point at the point of the discussion rather than anyone's credibility.
Yeah,
So
and I'm waiting for team to come up with one of the characteristics of a mirage, since
Of a mirage, what do you mean? Explain to me what you mean by a mirage. There are inferior mirages. There's superior mirages. What type of mirage do you want? I mean, do you want me to give you an example of what I'm talking about, or what a temperature inversion is? Well, that's where the light goes into a higher temperature medium, and because of the fact that it's a higher temperature medium, the light bends up so that it appears lower than where it actually is.
So what type of mirage is causing the Chicago skyline to hover 1,000 feet behind the Earth curve?
I don't know. I'm not looking at your screen right now to try to visually determine exactly what type it is. I told you before plenty of times, I'll tell you again, if you're going to be providing evidence, then you need to be backing it up with the claims that you're making. If you're saying that, okay, I'm seeing the Chicago skyline, why is that? And I say, well, it's because that we're seeing atmospheric conditions that allow on this particular day, under these particular atmospheric conditions, that we're able to see this observation, that we're not going to see it every day. You can't prove me wrong just with one simple picture that you don't even have a refractive index on the picture. You're just saying, hey, look at this picture. Guys, look, it's more than I can see. Prove to me that it's more than you can see. Prove to me that there's no way that that's a possibility to occur on the globe Earth under like ideal atmospheric circumstances and conditions. You can't. All you can do is show the picture and go, look, it doesn't look like it's a mirage to me, it has no characteristics. That doesn't work for me. I don't give a shit about your opinion about that picture. Your uneducated and uninformed opinion.
all right, let's go back to Nathan.
Yeah. So there's also 57 miles away, Joshua Nowicki. He's got a famous photo. The news said that it was a mirage, which is basically team's argument. It's not actually there, guys. You can see it, but we're not actually seeing the city. It's just the image is being lifted up over 1,000 feet above the horizon. But you have no evidence that that happens, that objects could be lifted up over 1,000 behind an alleged presupposed Earth curve that you haven't proven. All you have is things disappear bottom first, and yes, that changes day to day based on atmospheric conditions, and it's because of perspective. And so I agree, things disappear bottom first. It's not Earth curve. We see way too far. You can see almost the entire Chicago skyline.
Well, that was a nice attempt at a straw man, because I didn't actually say that it was or was not a mirage. I said that you have an uneducated and uninformed opinion, and you're trying to present a piece of evidence that you're just saying, I saw this on the internet and this is my explanation for it. You don't have anything to back up your explanation, and that's the only reason I'm saying I'm not accepting your evidence. There is atmospheric refraction out there that can cause things like this to happen. I'll have Steven pull up a video right now showing extreme conditions that cause extreme refractions that you would never believe if someone said, yes, I've seen light bend around something, completely bend around a small object. And we're not even talking about huge distances like the Earth. We're talking about a small propane tank. I see light bending around this propane tank. So yes, we can have that happen right here on Earth under very easily created conditions.
Light or an image?
Light.
Was an image
Light.
bent around the propane
Light.
tank?
Light.
Could you see around the corner of the propane tank, team?
What the fuck does that even mean? Light, you don't look around anything. Light comes to you and you see the light that comes to you. So if you're bending light around a corner, That's what's happening. The light is traveling in a straight line. It enters into a different medium. It changes its that's what the difference is, the refractive index. That's why you should know things like this, Nathan. Then it comes, when it enters into that refractive index, that higher refractive index, it begins bending. As it bends around and it comes back out of that refractive index, it starts straightening back out. And you see it in front of you. When it's not there, it's over there. It's a good distance over there, and it's coming, and the light coming off of it is passing through a medium that's causing it to bend towards you. Yes, this happens, and I can show you right now.
Excellent. The atmosphere is hovering the Chicago skyline over 1,000 feet of presupposed Earth curvature. Have you heard of Jay Tolan?
Have you proved that that can't be done? That's my only question, is have you proved that that can't be done? If you'll put that up here so I can get this. Prove that it can't be done, and I'll accept your proof.
That's an argument from ignorance. You prove that Santa isn't real.
No. You prove that what I just said, that it explains your observation.
You have no evidence for what you said.
You have no
happens.
evidence for what you said.
What are you talking about? I just showed you. Pull it up on Google Earth.
A picture that you don't even fucking know who took the picture.
I went there myself and recorded it myself.
You went
the
there
video's on my YouTube.
Okay. Did you take the refractive index? Do you know that there is no way for that observation to possibly be possible on a globe Earth? That's the question you need to be asking yourself.
So on a globe, based on certain conditions, an image behind 1,000 feet of curvature is going to hover up because of those atmospheric conditions. What are we doing here?
Hold on, I'm getting him a video right now.
Okay, so it's hovering. The Chicago skyline is hovering over 1,000 feet of Earth curve that you can't prove exists.
Dude, I'm telling you that you can't prove that that is not possible. All you're just saying, look,
It's an argument from ignorance.
So if I give you, when I showed you that blink test, and I just showed you the blink test, right? Where it shows, hold on. Okay, where he played it, I was assuming you were watching it. The blink test that he showed things disappearing at relatively close distances compared to what you're talking about.
Yeah, I have a 123-mile blink test.
Okay, so we're talking about things disappearing at relatively close distances, and then you're telling me that this one observation that shows something further than what I'm showing that's being observed.
Not only the Artistic Encounter, who's been extremely gracious and willing to host us, but we've also been very thankful for our speakers. And I do want to give a personal thank you to both Steven Steen and his twin brother, Tom Jump, as they have honestly been extremely helpful with the tech setup today. And I'm very sincere about that. Big thank you to Steven Steen and Tom Jump, as we had a little bit of a lot of tech stuff getting set up. And so we really did appreciate a lot of brain power moving through those guys. So with that, we will move into the next part.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm just sending them up.
No problem. I do want to mention, in case you have not seen, tomorrow we do that epic debate between Matt Dillahunty and Inspiring Philosophy on whether or not there are good reasons to believe that God exists. In fact, that's going to be tomorrow, and the link is already in the description for that debate, which is happening tomorrow evening. So we hope you can make it there, as well as a debate between Tom Jump, which will also be in person, and that's with Jonathan Sheffield on whether or not Jesus resurrected from the dead. I'm ready when you are. You bet. Having just a little bit of a lag yet. So if it's possible, if anyone who happens to be streaming right now would be willing to switch to their data. If they're using the Wi-Fi, we weren't able to connect to the modem. So if you happen to be using the Wi-Fi right now, it might possibly help reduce the buffering and help us catch up with the video. And for those of you who are watching right now, I do want to remind you, if you are watching via live stream, clicking refresh actually does usually help with the buffering. So as we do kind of catch up with the video stream, that should help as you're watching. Also, on Sunday, still at the Artistic Encounter, who we, as mentioned, really appreciate their generosity, Aaron Ra will be debating Dr. Mick Leroy on creation evolution. So all of these debates will be in person. That's Dr. Mick Leroy and Aaron Ra debating creation evolution in person here at the Artistic Encounter on Sunday afternoon, as well as in person Matt Dillahunty at the Atheist Experience studio with Inspiring Philosophy together in the same studio tomorrow.
Okay, so sorry for all that delay, guys, but here we go. And I just want to point this out, and this is why I refuse to accept evidence where people say, hey, look, I saw this picture. Hey, look, I took this picture. Hey, this is an amazing thing. This should never happen if I was on a ball earth. I should never be able to see this because it's just ridiculous. Well, this evidence right here is going to show you what extreme refraction does and what extreme atmospheric conditions can do to light around an obstruction, a curved obstruction. So please show this. This simulates what a colder environment does, thus increasing the refractive index. You can go ahead and let it roll. You're doing fine.
Can you walk us through what's going on here, team?
Yeah, well, it's waiting on the video to play. Okay, there it goes. All right, so as the butane is poured on there, it simulates a denser atmosphere, which is PV equals nRT. Temperature and pressure, both are the same. As temperature goes down, the pressure decreases, the atmosphere becomes more dense, and this will, of course, increase the refractive index. So this is what we're seeing here, is seeing something that you should not be able to see unless light actually bent around a corner. And it's simply no magic involved, just simply changing the temperature of the air or the density of the air that the light is traveling through.
I haven't seen what you're talking about happen. When does that happen?
Well, here, you know what? I'll just show you on my phone, so that way there is no question and we don't have to look through it through a stream.
Yeah, I'm not seeing this object disappear behind the curve and then come back when you pour the butane on top of it.
You're not looking hard enough because I'm about to show it to you right now. Skip it up to where it needs to be.
Okay, I can still see the object.
But you saw the object. It had multiple colors, right? Green, red, yellow.
It's not behind the curve.
Now. You can't see it behind the curve of this butane tank or propane tank, whatever kind of tank that is. Now watch when it gets poured on there. Tell me what colors you see.
How do you know it's not just splitting the colors of the top of the butane tank?
Please just watch. Are you telling me that that's not on the thing before? You can't see it before? You don't see the red just rising up to the top?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the red, but you can't see, you see a small sliver of it. Okay?
You shouldn't be able to see any of it. You shouldn't be able to see any of it. That's what I'm saying. Light bent is... Okay, so regardless of how much he says I should or should not be seeing it, would you like to see it on camera? I don't have a problem with you seeing it.
But you didn't take an object that was behind Earth curve and bring it back fully visible.
Okay, so what I've said on multiple occasions, and I'll continue to say it again, until you prove that that's not possible on the round Earth, I'm not going to accept that it's positive proof or exclusive proof for the flat Earth. Okay. It's not how it works.
Well,
you got to prove to me that it's impossible for that to be an observation that we can possibly see on a globe Earth. Then you're working with something. Until then, you're just working with this observation. And like I said, I'm not trying to be an asshole or anything, but it's an uneducated and uninformed observation that you're just pointing out and saying this is evidence for a flat Earth.
How big is the Earth and how much Earth curve should we see?
That's irrelevant.
Well, how big is it? What do you mean, how is that irrelevant?
I just explained to you on why you can see distances further than what you think you should be able to see due to atmospheric conditions. So until you make a more defined question and say, how much should I see on this temperature with this much pressure and at this height.
much-
I mean, what
how much curve
observation
did we
height?
see on-
you know
on the
what?
Tampa?
Hey, look down on the ground. Put your eyeball on the ground, and guess what? The Earth, the entire Earth curves away from you at that point. When you make your viewer height 0 feet, how high is your viewer height? Of course, how far should I see? How far should we see, Nathan? Tell me. On our model, how far should we see?
Well, that's what I'm trying to find out.
No. Tell me.
What do
You're
you
the
mean
one
your model?
debunking. You obviously
I
know
don't-
what
I'm
I
trying to
believe,
learn
right?
what
You're
your
telling
model
me.
is. Also, the
Well, then what are
audience
you doing
might
here?
not know
what are
what
you
your
doing
model
here? If you're
is.
trying to learn it now, what are you doing here? You're
I
the
also
one
wanna
telling me that
clarify
what
for
I
the
believe
audience.
is wrong. So tell me how I'm wrong.
I don't want to talk about beliefs, okay? I want to clarify for the audience, how big is your ball-tilted Earth in space?
It has a circumference of about 25,000 miles.
Excellent. So at 10 miles,
At the equator, yeah.
at 10 miles, how much Earth curve should we see, Team Skeptic?
See, that's the how ignorant your question is, because you're not giving me a viewer height. You're not giving me anything.
At sea
You're saying-
level.
At sea level. Okay, so
How much should Earth drop downward in 10 miles
there's
with 0 observer
there's
height,
an
team?
equation out there that is
It's 8 inches per mile
no,
squared.
it's not 8 inches per mile squared. Can you please plot out what 8 inches per mile squared is on a fucking graph, and then show the world what 8 inches per mile squared looks like on a graph, and tell me that that's what I believe the shape of the fucking Earth is?
What do you want me to use, AutoCAD, Sagitta, or Pythagorean theorem?
Anything, any goddamn thing out there. Just plot out what 8 inches per mile squared. Let's see how mathematically literate you
Sure.
are.
Which one do you want me to use, Sagitta, Pythagorean?
Whatever you want to use. Pick whichever one you want. Plot out on a graph what the graph looks like at 8 inches per mile squared, please, and show the people of here how smart you are and how that's what I believe the Earth looks like.
Okay, so
You're about to look dumb as fuck, by the way.
So according to Sagitta, at 10 miles, we would see 66.69 feet of Earth curve. According to Pythagorean theorem,
According
we
to,
would see-
do the fucking math, Nathan. Plot it out. I asked you to do something. Plot out that particular equation on a graph and tell me that that looks like a globe Earth.
I just asked.
Graph
at
it
10
out.
miles.
Plot the graph. Plot the graph.
I just asked
Hold
at
on,
10
Hold on,
miles.
please, everybody.
Yeah, I
Hold
just
on.
asked at 10 miles how much
Plot
Earth
it out.
curve should
Plot
we
out the
see?
graph. No, plot out what you just said. 8 inches per mile squared. Plot that out on a graph and tell me that I believe the Earth looks like that. Please.
Okay, so at 10 miles, you did a blink test at 24 miles.
Do
from
you?
the Tampa.
I didn't do it. Red's Rhetoric did. Yes. And time out. Do you know what the shape of the fucking graph is going to be at 8 inches per mile squared?
So the blink
Are you
test-
that literate in math?
Wow, dude. The blink
You're here to
test.
prove me wrong. Are you that literate?
Let's give Nathan a chance to make his case.
Yeah, the blink test. How much Earth curve did we view on Red's Rhetoric blink
There
test?
wasn't a measurement of how much Earth curve was there. What was measured was to show that when you get up closer and you don't have the obstruction and you compare those two things, it's quite obvious that something is in the way when you're 24 miles away. That's not in the way when you're just across the bay.
Well, did the bay have waves?
They weren't even in the fucking picture. They weren't even, the waves doesn't matter. Do you even understand how perspective works now? Do you even understand that if you're looking, and okay, I'm going to explain something to you for everybody that's dumb enough to use this argument of perspective. When your eye level is this high for something, no matter how fucking far away it gets, for something to obstruct it more, it has to be above that. Do you understand that?
Not
No,
necessarily.
yes, absolutely fucking necessary. It's in the goddamn graph right there.
Depends on your angle of attack.
Let's hear the case or the side problem.
Just relax, bro. It's okay.
I'm
if
not-
your cartoon globe religion.
I want you to
falls apart.
prove. I want you to
We're gonna
graph it
we're gonna
out
give
right
Nathan
now.
A chance just to. So, if you do have a depiction of the graph, thanks so much. If you have a graph.
No, I was just
we can-
asking Earth
we can-
curve at 10 miles. If it's a ball, like he said, 25,000 miles around, you could plug it into AutoCAD.
I'll answer your
At 10 miles, there
One-
should be
one
a
second.
vertical drop. Yeah, please stop interrupting while I dismantle
Hold on.
your globe
Here's
religion. Okay? So, at 10 miles, the Earth should drop vertically if we're on a globe. No matter what, okay? The Earth would have to drop vertically, tangent to your feet, if the Earth is a globe. We do not observe a tangent vertical drop to our feet anywhere. That's why you can see Mount San Jacinto from 123 miles. You got a 20-mile blink test. I raise your 20-mile blink test to 123
All right,
miles.
back to what I was saying at the
entire thing,
beginning.
please don't interrupt. We let you rant and run around and dance around and show your videos
We'll give you a
for
second.
quite some time, okay?
We'll give you a little bit.
Say,
to keep it
Still,
so Earth curve at 10 miles, an answer. Do we have an answer for how much vertical drop we should see from sea level for Earth curve at 10 miles, Team Skeptic.
Do you want me to give you your calculation at 8 inches per mile squared? Because that's
So-
not a
so
fucking.
I
I'm
need a
still waiting for you.
numerical
Hold on.
value
How
for
would
how
you even
much
know? Hey, how about this?
curve
I could
we
just make
should
up a fucking
see
number, Nathan. You
at
would have
10
no idea whether I
miles.
was right or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
you
I
could
just
make up a number
That's
for
right.
how
and you
much
know
Earth
what?
curve we
You know
should
why
see
you
at 10
wouldn't know?
miles?
1 second, 1 second.
Because
Just-
you're
You could just
fucking
make up a
mathematically
number for how much
illiterate.
Earth curve there is.
1 second.
Fancy.
It's fair. I think it is fair. Like if I think both sides in this case have asked like kind of for the specifications for the case at hand, and so I think that's okay. So what I want to do is I think Team Skeptic was asking for like specifications, which I think is both sides have asked for, and that's a fair question. So we'll let him ask the question, and then we'll
So-
come right back to you. I promise.
Nathan wants to know what the trigonomic answer to a question is that he just throws out and goes, oh, you can't answer that. Yeah, I don't have a trigonometry calculator on me to do all the trigonomic fucking functions that I can't do in my fucking head because you want to use a basic simplified equation of 8 inches per mile squared. And I'm still at this point asking you, do you even know what the shape is of the graph of that equation? Do you? Yes or no?
So you're asking?
Yeah, I'm asking,
me-
do you know this?
Yeah, it's a parabola
Then why the fuck are you using it?
because it's
That's
accurate.
fucking stupid.
Because it's
Let's
Again,
give him a chance to respond.
because it's
trying to use an equation that's none. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
because it's accurate up to 1,000 miles.
How
and
would
you're
you
not
even know?
doing, Well, because I've got the AutoCAD, the Pythagorean theorem, and the Sagitta right here.
You're telling
and
me you
won't
don't
pay
know how to
attention.
do the equations yourself?
Let's just.
No, I do. You don't know because I asked you how much curve we should see at 10 miles, and you didn't know.
How much should we see? How much should we see? Do that. No,
Well-
no. Don't look there. Tell me how much we should. No,
It's easy.
stop looking.
666.
Oh, 666. And how did you come up with that, Nathan?
I
How
didn't
did you
make
come
up
No,
the
how
Earth
did you
curve.
come up with
I
that
think
number?
it's flat.
How did you come up with that number? What
I did
equation
your
did you
math.
use? No, what equation did you use?
You gave the
Admit the
measurements.
equation right now.
You
Don't
gave
don't
the
avoid my
measurements.
question.
Hold on, one
You gave the measurements
Don't
for the
avoid my
globe.
question.
It's your measurements.
Hold on.
You told me it's a globe
Hold on.
25,000 miles around,
Hold on
Einstein.
a second.
Okay?
He does. He's
So I
asking-
used your
hold on a
measurements.
second. He's asking for the equation, which like it seems relevant. So is it? Let's give him a chance. He's asked for the equation, and
Don't look for the answer. Give me the equation. Do the math for
According
me
to
right now.
Pythagorean theorem, it's 8 inches per mile squared.
God.
And that's
You
accurate
are
up
so dumb.
and that's accurate up to 1,000 feet. That's just
Again,
an ad hominem.
I don't care if it breaks. I don't care if you want to call it an ad hom or not. You're using an equation that does not even
have
is
it
not
right
even
here.
relevant to
I
the
have
shape
it.
of the Earth.
Yeah.
Jesus. You mean to say that your pizza Earth is flying through space up it like this? Wouldn't that be a straw man? Wouldn't that be
Yeah.
me telling you something that you don't believe in? Well, guess what? I don't think the Earth's a parabola.
You think it's 25,000
Guess
miles
what?
around though,
I
right?
don't think it's a fucking parabola. So
you
stop
think it's
using these
25,000
parabolic equations and saying this is what I believe because guess what? You're fucking wrong.
AutoCAD's not a parabolic equation. AutoCAD's a program they use to make engineering parts.
Okay, so you don't know what you're talking about. You're just reading numbers from somebody else and believing them. Yes?
Yeah, but the AutoCAD.
Yes or no? Are you
the
doing that?
AutoCAD
Yes or no?
Matches.
Are
the
you
Pythagorean
doing that?
theorem.
Yes or no?
No,
You're
not. At all.
Oh, you did this yourself.
Yeah, you can
You
do
went
this
out and
math
measured it
yourself.
yourself. Oh yeah, I believe that. Where's your fucking
You can do
evidence for
spherical
that?
trigonometry on a paper. You don't have to go
Then why
outside.
the fuck do you think that the sun is where it is in the sky? If you can do all this trigonomic equations, how can you look up in the sky and say, oh, it's flat? Because guess what?
I'm not
The
talking
position
about
of
the
the
sun.
sun in the sky, with all this trigonometry thing that you're actually saying that you know how to do to prove the shape of the Earth and how much curvature and drop it is, those same functions tell you that where the position of the sun is in the sky makes your position absolutely false. And there's no way to fucking say, oh yeah, the position of the sun in the sky absolutely proves that the Earth is flat. Oh yeah, really? We've done the fucking test.
Can we get back to Earth curve?
That's what I'm talking
Jeez
about.
Louise, dude.
That's what I'm talking about.
Can you
Earth
relax
curve.
and take a seat?
No, hell no. I'm having fun.
I know your globe religion's melting. It's 2020, and you still think you live on a tilted cartoon.
the chance
Straw man
to
piece of
respond.
shit.
So, if we just because there were a lot of questions, fair questions, just to make sure that Nathan has plenty of time to respond. The floor is yours.
Yeah. So you can do the math, or you could plug a 25,000 mile around ball, which is not a straw man argument, because that's what you told me the size of the ball is, into AutoCAD. You can use Sagitta or Pythagorean theorem. They'll all give you the same amount of Earth curve for up to 1,000 miles. The reason I use that equation is because nobody's doing sight distance observations over 1,000 miles. So if it's accurate up to 1,000 miles for Earth curve, we can use it for observations being done less than 1,000 miles. I think your site distance test was 24 miles, which is much less than 1,000 miles. Mine right here is 123 miles. This is Mount San Jacinto, done with infrared. Shout out Jay Tolan. Now the problem with this is that entire mountain in the background should have disappeared behind Earth curve. Now you would.
It's buffering, so it might.
Yeah, I don't care. So you're saying that 7,800 feet of Earth curve is hovering above the horizon because of atmospheric conditions? Okay, so Mount San Jacinto is 123 miles away. Observer height's 150 feet. The horizon distance is 15 miles. The shore distance, 19 miles. Curvature obstruction, 7,800 feet. Okay? At 123 miles, according to your ball, that's 25,000 miles around.
Changes with the refractive index, does it not?
Let's give him a chance to respond.
We don't live in a model. And the problem with that is if the Earth curve was there, then it would be visible. The problem is it's not visible from anywhere. I've shown you Chicago. I've shown you San Jacinto. I've talked about the Salton Sea observations. And all you're saying is, show me the refractive index. So you're of the opinion that the atmosphere is causing Mount San Jacinto, which is behind 7,800 feet of Earth curve, over a mile of Earth curve, that the air is raising the image of the San Jacinto. So we're not actually seeing the mountain.
The image. No, the image doesn't get raised. It bends. The light bends around the curve of the corner. And to you, from where you're looking at, you see the light coming from that direction when it's not. It's coming from that direction. And it's going in that direction. And it's being bent up like that towards you, and you're seeing it. Now, if you can show me where that's not possible, show me it's not possible. I don't care about your observation that you just say, oh, this must be. I don't care about your must-be's. I want your empirical shit. I want you to say, this is why this is absolutely impossible on the globe Earth, and then you got an argument. Then you got a case. Until then, you're just blowing air out, making everybody fucking see how dumb you are.
So my argument is that water is a natural level. It's a property of hydrostatics. So that's why we see too far, is because water is a natural level. They teach in school 70% of Earth's surface is water. And all water at rest, which is the study of fluid statics, says the surface of the water will be horizontal and level to its container. So all water you've ever seen, whether it's in a cup, a bowl, a bathtub, a pool, or a lake or an ocean, is one, contained,
That's
and two,
great, bro. Great observation, but what does that have to do with the Earth?
Could just relax, team. Yeah, just relax, please.
We'll give you a little bit.
I know.
I'm sorry.
And then just because it's a lot of information.
I was just saying water's level, and it's a property of hydrostatics.
Saying it,
and the surface is a natural.
You were saying it ad nauseum. Let me answer.
Hold on, sorry. I want to let Nathan. I want to let him finish. I was just saying that I don't want to give you too much longer because it's a lot of information.
Yeah.
Both for the audience and even for team, like everybody up here, all the information to like process. So keep going, but.
Yeah. So water's a natural level. You look at water at rest. It's called a specular reflection. There's no light diffusion on the surface of water when you look at the reflection of something off a calm body of water, because all bodies of water at rest are perfectly flat. So that's our nail in the coffin right there for the globe model. There's no downward vertical curvature. You see how upset he gets when I ask how much downward vertical curvature there should be, because he knows it doesn't exist. It's not there. We can't find it. We can't measure it. It's not observed. Okay. And it's not observed in a specular reflection either. So specular reflections, there's no light diffusion, team. If you could respond to that.
Sorry, I was listening to somebody give me some information on the
no worries. Do you know what a specular
here.
Reflection is?
Go ahead and tell me what you think it is, and I'll just listen along, and
okay.
I'll talk about it if I know what you're talking about. Go ahead. But hold on, you've been talking for a minute. Let me address some of your arguments for a second. You haven't. Hey, you know what? You said has everything not been addressing what you've just brought up? Have I not brought up a point
you
against what you?
You haven't addressed anything about what I just said.
Yes, I have. Your observation.
You're of the opinion that 7,800 feet of Earth curvature.
Yes. The mountain. What's the height of the mountain, please? Will you please talk about the tallest part of the mountain, the height of the mountain?
Yeah, no problem. It's about 9,000 feet.
How much?
Let me look. I have the exact numbers right here. 1 second.
And how much was supposed to be according to your 8 inches per mile squared calculation?
Mountain height, 10,800 feet. Observable height is 150 feet. Curvature obstruction, for your ball that's 25,000 miles around that you told me you believe in, yeah,
Okay.
7,800 feet.
So there's still 4,000 feet above that you're supposed to be able to see without the refraction? There's 4,000 feet of the
Wait.
mountain that you're supposed to still be seeing without, or 3,000, right? 3,000
Yeah, 3,000.
to about 3,000 that you're supposed to be seeing without refraction. Not just because it might be an optimal day for refraction. The atmospheric conditions might be possible to see even more of the mountain. That's not possible though, even with the video I just showed, right? But it's absolute proof that the Earth must be flat. Hell
All right, we
fucking
got
no.
world record. We got the world record Bardet-Krenz photo. It's 270 miles. So are you saying that atmospheric conditions are causing the Bardet-Krenz mountain to hover above Earth curve?
I don't
50,000?
know. Throw out another goddamn observation you're completely uninformed on, and let me see what you have to say about it.
I have all the numbers here.
Okay, well, let me get to a point that you've made since you keep making these dumbass uninformed observations where you don't have refractive index. You can't tell me that it's absolutely not supposed to be seen on the globe Earth. All you can just say is, oh, but look, this is so much further than what my completely incorrect calculation has to fucking say. So let me go ahead and start reading off some of the shit that you brought up. Okay, so you said that the atmosphere must increase in velocity. Well, what kind of velocity there, Nathan? Would you, as it goes up in the sky, is it linear velocity? Is it angular velocity? What type of velocity is it supposed to go so dramatically high, much higher as you go up? And how much more should it go at, let's say, 2 miles up? How much faster should the atmosphere? So tell me first, define what kind of velocity you're talking about as it goes up. And then second, tell me how much faster it's supposed to be so I can show you exactly where you're wrong.
So you're of the opinion the atmosphere moves with the Earth?
They both move around the Earth at 15 degrees per hour, yes.
They both move together.
Around the axis of rotation, yes.
So the
Prove it
atmosphere is moving with the Earth.
That's what Coriolis shows us, yes, absolutely.
Coriolis states that the atmosphere moves separately from the Earth.
The atmosphere is not physically attached to the Earth any more than the air molecules inside of your car as you drive are physically attached to your fucking car.
Okay, so if it's not physically attached, how does Earth drag it with its rotation?
How does your car drag the atmosphere when it drives off? Why, when you begin to drive, you don't feel the air hit you in the fucking face?
Well, because the car is a closed container. That was one of my arguments in my opening, is
And
that
we'll
you
get
can't
to
have
that,
gas
and
pressure without a closed container.
We'll get to that very incorrect argument in a moment because
Yes.
you absolutely have this predefined notion of what a barrier must be, and you're absolutely incorrect on that as well.
So why do you compare being on a ball in space to being in a car?
The atmosphere, you don't have to. I can show you a video where there's not, where it isn't a closed car and the atmosphere inside of an uncontained system is still moving relative to the frame of reference. Yes, I can show you that.
So,
That it's not completely impossible just because you say you don't get it and it is impossible.
Because when you turn on a blender,
Yeah?
the center moves faster than the outer portion.
Okay.
You agree?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So if the Earth has a Coriolis and the atmosphere moves separately from the Earth,
When did this just happen? Do you think the Earth just started rotating last year and the atmosphere was there and they were all stuck in one spot and now the atmosphere just started, or the Earth started rotating and now we got to wait for the blender to catch up with everything?
team, I don't think
No.
the Earth rotates. I'm trying to
That's your
understand
problem.
argument.
Nobody cares about your ignorances. I don't care about them either.
We'll see
it
when we get to the
does.
Q&A.
It does. I showed you with the optical gyroscope. I'm telling you with Coriolis, there's no way you can describe how Coriolis is possible without talking about the rotation of the Earth.
There
you
is
would
no
have
Coriolis.
So just hurricanes just happen to rotate in one direction north of the equator and in another direction opposite of the equator. The weather systems, all weather systems, just
Wait.
happen to
Wait, so
follow
you-
what Coriolis force, the existence of a Coriolis force would predict. All of those follow that, but there's no Coriolis force. You have proof of that.
So your argument is that storms are spinning.
Well, do you have proof of what you just said?
Can you stop interrupting me for 2
To
seconds?
answer my question,
okay?
do you have proof that there is no Coriolis?
Yeah, of course I do.
Show it to me.
You throw something in the air and it comes right back down.
No
Team Skeptic.
shit.
Yeah.
No shit. Right.
Coriolis
right.
states that
right.
the
Tell
atmosphere
me. What
moves-
should happen? What should happen? Tell me.
I'm about to.
No. No. Tell me what should happen.
Yeah. Coriolis states that the atmosphere moves separately from the Earth.
So what
So
should
if you look at Neil deGrasse Tyson's Twitter, he says that field goals are made or lost based on the fact that a ball is flying in the air, the atmosphere, the second reference frame from the moving ball Earth you believe in,
Okay, so you're using Neil deGrasse Tyson as your evidence?
Hold on.
Let's
I'm
keep
explaining how Coriolis works, okay?
Okay, well,
Neil
get to a
deGrasse
point.
Tyson,
Stop trying to be so dramatically long with your descriptions. Just get to the fucking
If the
point so I
Earth-
can tell you how you're wrong.
If the Earth has a Coriolis, objects in the atmosphere would experience a Earth rotating underneath them. That's what the Coriolis is.
Okay.
And we experience none of that.
So every sniper out there says that when they say that they're looking at a target, oh yeah, okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's talk
sniper
about
argument.
that. Because I
Yeah.
can bring up a sniper on here that's a sniper on the internet that says when you fire in the direction of rotation, your target will drop relative to you. Relative to your to the way you're firing, and when you fire in the opposite direction, your target will raise.
So it's dropping or raising based on the rotation.
Yeah, isn't that
the
what you
Earth.
just fucking brought up about Neil
Okay.
deGrasse Tyson?
How long is the?
Do you even understand what the whole purpose of what he said was?
Let's give him a chance.
How long is the sniper bullet in the air for? Less than a second?
Who
Would you-
fucking cares?
Well-
With sniper, you have no idea. That you don't. Are you just making an assumption on a video that you haven't watched just to support your narrative?
Can we-
Because you know what? You don't know how far sniper bullets go. Sniper bullets that are shot at relatively short distances don't necessarily take a Coriolis into account. But if they are shooting at great distances, which is usually done on a range, they absolutely do take it into account. And I've got video to show it.
Let's give him a chance to respond, and then we can come back to the video. But go ahead, Nathan.
So this gentleman's argument is that in a split second, the Earth rotated under a sniper bullet. Well, my question to you is, does Earth rotate under drones, helicopters, hot air balloons, or airplanes traveling west to east and east to west?
Of course they do. Do you understand that conservation of momentum is a thing? Do you understand that in aerodynamics, when you
Now-
have aerodynamics and you put an object that is an aerodynamic object that is controlled flight, it uses the air around it to control its flight, not the ground beneath it, the air around it.
Is
So
a
if
hot air
it gets
balloon-
into the air and the air just starts taking off in one direction, guess what? The fucking drone isn't just going to sit there and experience the air going around it unless it has a sensor that aligns it to the ground. No, it's going to think that its frame of reference, which is the pocket of air it's in, is completely fucking still, and it's just going to go right along with the air. That's how fucking aerodynamics works. That's how
So-
come when you take a helicopter and you go above a spot, it's going to rotate at 15 degrees per hour inside of the atmosphere. Not because of the ground below it, but because of the atmosphere that it's inside of.
So the helicopter rotates at 15 degrees with the Earth, is what you're saying?
Yes?
Okay, so why doesn't the sniper bullet do that?
What are you talking about? It does. Conservation of fucking momentum. You're
You
adding...
just said Earth rotated under the sniper bullet. Right?
Rotate.
You just
Hey,
said
Nathan,
Earth
listen,
rotates
if
under
you
the
jump
sniper bullet.
up and down right now, the earth rotates underneath you. Do you agree with that?
What?
In my model, when you jump up and down, just because you don't understand it doesn't mean anything, okay? When the bullet is fired, the bullet is ballistic. Do you agree with that? Yes or no?
So the Earth moves
Hold
under
on.
you when you
Agree,
jump?
agree, yes or no. Quit trying to avoid my question.
Wait, you just said
you
the
know
Earth
I'm
moves
about to
under
prove
you.
you wrong, so answer the question
You said
or
the
don't.
Earth moves under you.
Do you understand that when the bullet is fired, it's ballistic? Do you understand that?
Yeah, like a ballistic.
Do you understand that when the bullet is fired, it's
could you define that
ballistic?
for the audience, please? So
It means
we're
that
clear
it's
on
not
terms.
powered. It's
Okay.
under its own fucking power. It's been shot out, and there's nothing else to guide it or anything, okay? It doesn't have powered
Just like
flight.
my water bottle.
Toss it in the air. Toss it in the air. That's fucking ballistic right there,
Yeah, did
okay?
Earth rotate under
now,
it?
yes, it did. And
rotated
yes,
under it at
did.
1,000 miles an
and
hour.
You're ignorant. No, 15 degrees per hour. We're not at the equator, are we,
Okay, so wait,
jackass?
15 degrees an hour, right? So we live on a ball, which is
That's
300
why you don't understand what you're talking about, because you make dumbass comments like that.
right? So 15 degrees an hour,
Yeah.
right? So Earth's allegedly 24,901 miles around. We allegedly have one day, one 24-hour day. So Earth's allegedly traveling approximately 1,000 miles an hour, or what you call 15 degrees.
Okay, so if you're driving in a car at 1,000 miles an hour and you flip a coin up, is the coin going to come right back down, Nathan, or is it going to hit the dude in the back seat?
If you're in a car that's not moving at all, and you flip
If
a
you're
coin
in
up,
a car that's moving at a constant 1,000 miles per hour and
Same
you
thing
flip a
happens if it's
coin up,
stationary.
exactly. So what's your fucking point right now?
what's your point?
You're the one that made the point about tossing the bottle up in the air and saying, "Does the Earth rotate?" Yes, it is.
Wait,
is the Earth rotating under the bullet when it's ballistic? Yes, it is.
So if
But
I
guess
fire a
what?
sniper bullet in the car-
yeah. So whatever. Let's say.
Will there be a Coriolis?
Okay. If you what?
If you fire a sniper bullet in the car, Because that was just your proof a minute ago. You said Earth rotates
Listen how
under a
stupid you
sniper
are.
bullet.
Yes, listen how stupid you are.
That's just an ad
Listen to how
hominem
dumb-
attack.
look how
You're the
dumb
one
you are.
double speaking.
No.
You're the one who says Earth.
So with that, we will be going into the Q&A. Thanks so much, everybody, for your questions. I'm going to work through as many as I can get. We, given that we have had a kind of a up and down connection, we are going to try to make this, we'll try to get through as many as we possibly can. I can't promise we'll get through every single question, and forgive me if we don't get through your super chat. I'm very serious. If you do want kind of a refund, shoot me an email if you've made like a significant super chat, hoping that it would get read. You know, we can try to kind of work with you on that as we try to get through as many as we can. So thanks for your patience. The stream appears to be back from what I'm looking at in the live chat. So thanks so much. We appreciate all your questions, and here we go with those first questions. So first, I want to say thanks so much for your super chat from John Rapp. Let's see. And some of these I might have to censor. So let's see. So John Rapp had said, the moon is in Earth's atmosphere, and since rockets need something to push on, we could have gotten to the moon. Sometimes as I'm kind of idling rather than debating.
What? He said, so the moon, the atmosphere extends out to the moon, so we could have gotten there because the rocket would have had something to push off of. We allegedly went to the moon in 3 days, and the moon's allegedly 230,000 miles away. So that means that we traveled 70,000 miles a day, 70,000 miles a day, and slowed down in Earth's atmosphere, landed safely, and then came back with no spaceship on the moon to take, or space sender to take off from. I mean, if you believe that, and we haven't done it in 50 years, we did it back with the bunny ears on the black and white television, you're kidding me, dude. You're kidding
Gotcha.
me.
Thanks so much. We are going to jump to the next one, and then we're going to go to an in-person audience question. Steven Steen says, watching Sexy James live. That's really sick. Thanks, Steven. We appreciate that. Consistent and twisted. Next, we do have an in-person audience question. So thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Can I please say, let me introduce this person. This is Ruben right here. He's a good friend of mine, but he's not necessarily a globe earther. So he's not here to troll or anything like that. He just has a question. So I'd like to let him ask it.
Okay, so I don't know if any of y'all have been to Cabo, but there's like arches, and then there's like a mountain. Or if you've been deep sea fishing in Cabo, that's where it leaves from. So leaving from there and not seeing it anymore, if I were to put on binoculars, could I see that mountain again if it goes under the horizon?
Yeah, well, that depends on atmospheric conditions, on if there's waves in the way. There could be waves in the way.
I'm talking
there
about
could
subtle waters, letting it go under the horizon, watching it go under the horizon, lowering.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, essentially that's what I figured it would do, as what everything does when you drive away from it, kind of lowers under the horizon. So with it lowering under the horizon, if I were to pull out binoculars, if I could I see it?
That's a hypothetical, dude. It's hard to answer an hypothetical like that. We can see too far. We can see that if Earth's a ball 25,000 miles around, then there should be a measurable vertical drop of 8 inches, roughly 8 inches per.
Besides numbers, being visual and being a person that has eyes, and you know you're a smart person, and you know with watching, say you're on the boat, and you can have binoculars, you can have every kind of meter that you want to, and you're watching the mountain go below the horizon, completely below the horizon, and you pull out your binoculars.
Yeah.
And you pull out your binoculars. There shouldn't be a factor on if you can see it or not.
There is. It's the aperture.
Okay.
It's the amount of light being intaken through the optical.
How
viewing
much of it
apparatus.
can you see then if it goes completely below the horizon?
Hold on, one sec. Just to be sure that it doesn't turn into a debate with.
But hey, I'm sure he'll be here to answer that question with you. I'll let you. I'll make sure you get a chance to talk to him about that. Oh, and thanks for the opportunity to let the audience.
Definitely, and so please do let us know. those of you in the audience, happy to let you ask a question. And so we're going to try to alternate back and forth between the online audience and the live in-person audience as well. So
I just
Nathan,
want to
the
show
floor
them.
is yours.
Yeah, cool. Real quick, I want to show them boats disappearing over the curve. I've got a slide for that. And 1 second, guys. All right, here we go. So I don't know where homeboy went, but this is a boat. There's a buoy there on the ocean, completely visible. But when you take the camera, P900 or P1000, and you zoom out, it completely disappears. You can't see it anymore. So nothing disappears due to Earth curve. It's due to atmospheric conditions, angular resolution limit, smog, dust, smoke, inferior, superior mirages. There's lots of reasons things could disappear, but it's never Earth curve, okay? Because one, we see too far, and yes, the objects in the horizon that have disappeared, if you zoom in on them, they're still there. Now, you can't zoom in infinitely because telescopes, binoculars, our eyes all obey the laws of perspective. But telescopes and P900s and P1000s have higher apertures and can let in more light than the human eye. So when the human eye says, oh, that boat's gone, it's gone over a curve, not according to a P900, not according to a P1000, not according to a telescope. That's my answer.
Gotcha. 1 second. Just to get through as many questions. I know that there's I'll make sure it gets to you after we're all done. We're definitely gonna kind of go back and forth between. So next one is Alan H said, ask Nathan how GPS works on a flat Earth.
Yeah, just instead of global positioning system, just pretend it's ground positioning system. They've got over 600,000 towers in the US, 6 million towers worldwide. There's no reason to believe that your cell phone's working because metal boxes above your head fall in a circle. Any box above your head that is falling, move out of the way. Just real quick, you know what? I'm just going to go to, because this is what I said, google.com, images of satellites in space. There we go. Now here we go, James. Which one of those is real, James? Or do those all look like cartoons? Just be honest, as a moderator. Are any of those real, or are those all obviously cartoons?
I'm not saying this just to try to play, what's the word? Neutral, but I'm not sure.
Team,
for
are
some
any of
these.
those real?
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, do any of them look real, or do they look obviously fake?
So here's the thing. Graphics are so good right now that even if I thought they looked real, they could be fake. So what you're trying to show is, okay, let's say it like this. Let's say 10,000 pictures of satellites exist. Let's just imagine if 10,000 pictures of satellites exist. How many millions of pictures of artist renditions of satellites, or people who just drew them up or put them in with
You're right.
Photoshop?
Maybe I should write real images of satellites in space.
Yeah,
All right, now I
that's
put
what
in
you should fucking
here.
do.
That's
exactly what
I
you
put
should
in
do.
real
That's what I was saying,
images.
fucking Nathan,
I
do
put in
that,
real
right?
images.
Because that's the point I was making.
I put in real images. Which one's the real one, dude?
1 second. We really do.
Rigor, dude.
We do have
Trigger me timbers, dude.
One thing. We
Jeez
actually
Louise.
are losing a connection. So it looks like people are having a lot of difficulty hearing what's being said. So we look like we're back. So we will try to get through just a few more questions. Any other live Okay, you bet. I think I saw your hand first.
I got a question for Skeptic. Okay, so how can you explain stars? Because I look at the sky quite often, and I see the same stars year-round.
Sure.
And so,
Okay. Is that the question is how do we see the same stars?
yeah.
Okay, great.
If you have a axis, that I should see different stars constantly.
And we do throughout the year. We see them
Yes.
different at the same time. Let's say we look at solar midnight every night. We're going to see a progression of the sky moving as we go around in our orbit. We will see that. So that 6 months later, we're looking in the opposite direction at a whole different set of stars in the sky. It's all still the same stars that are around us, because now the stars that we saw 6 months before in the nighttime are actually, we can see those in the daytime. We just can't see it because our star is up there. Our star's the light's so bright from our star, we just can't see those stars that are in that side. From, let's say, from me and you looking at the surface of Earth, looking up. And we can see it at night. Let's say it's clear night, no light pollution, no anything like that. We look up, we see stars in the sky. Now, the stars we're seeing in the sky are not infinitely across the galaxy. What we see with our, let me grab the microphone so that the audience can hear in the live chat. The stars we see in the night are relatively close compared to the rest of the stars in the universe. So now let's take this dinger for instance, okay? And we're going to say that this dinger represents the bubble of which all of the stars that I'm talking about are in. Now let's say we're going to say that all the stars that are in our night sky, are located just right here on this dinger, right? Now if I take this thing and I just throw it out there and I say at any point in time, you stop time and you go grab that dinger right in its position and you look down at it, how close are the stars all going to be on that dinger? Are they all, just for whatever reason, are they just going to migrate to the other side, or are they all going to be right here? Because we are in our own frame of reference, our own galactic frame of reference. We're part of the Milky Way galaxy. As the Milky Way galaxy goes in that direction, so do all the stars that are in the Milky Way galaxy. This dinger could be thought of as the entire galaxy, with all the stars we see just representing a tiny, tiny spot on that, and throw it up there. They're always going to be next to each other. So always we're going to look out and see stars relatively close to us. Just like when we drive, if you see a fly in next to you and it jumps up and starts flying, it's not having to fly to keep up with you driving in the car. It's just having to fly within its own frame of reference. And if it stays with you, no matter how far you go, you can look over like this and see that fly every single time because it's in your same frame of reference. It's going the direction you're going and at the speed you're going in.
Yeah, but my question was, yeah, I mean, I get all that. I get from that standpoint. But I'm saying I should not see, because we live in Rockwall, saying we have a good picture of the sky. I documented, I see the Big Dipper for 3 months that we lived there. Same spot, got my neighbor, said, look at this. It's in the same spot. We looked at it, we looked at it, we looked at it. Finally, when winter finally hit, it finally started moving. That was 3 months out of 12 months. It should have been, since we go around the sun in 365 days, I shouldn't have seen that for 3 months out of the year, same exact spot.
Yep.
Well, it depends on your location on the face of the Earth. Because if you're in the southern hemisphere, obviously you're not going to be able to see the northern star, for instance, and the Big Dipper's a part. I believe the Big Dipper has the northern star is one of the stars in that. So typically, when you're down in the southern hemisphere, you're not going to be able to see that star, and that right there is a good a point that needs to be addressed by any flat earther that thinks that the Earth is flat and that stars kind of point them in the right direction towards that belief. Needs to ask themselves, why can't they see the Big Dipper from below the equator, or the North Star? Now, as far as what you're asking, and it's still the same thing. I mean, when we go, it has to do with the length of the days, number one, because in the length of the days, we don't have a perfect 24-hour rotation. I think it's 23 hours, 56 minutes, and some odd seconds. So what we say on our clock, we don't stop the clock at 23 hours, 56 minutes. We stop it at 24 hours, and that's the next day. So there's 4 minutes that then becomes accounted for, and that slightly rotates the Earth each night in relation to your clock, not in relation to the actual Earth or the sky, but in relation to your clock. So each night at a different hour, you're going to have a different star that's right in front, not a different North Star, but like a different, like when you're talking about the Big Dipper and you say, let's say a portion of it, like the bottom portion or something, over time, at the same time of the night, for instance, not changing time of night, but at the same time of the night, that constellation will be in a different spot every single day, and 365 days will go around and it'll come right back down and be right back in the same spot. And that's a consequence of our celestial geometry and the fact that we actually do rotate, and it does take less than 24 hours to make a full rotation on our axis. If it didn't, then you would have an argument, because when we come over here, if it was a perfect 24 hours, for instance, then 6 months later we would always be looking in the same direction. Like noon would then be midnight 6 months later on our clocks, not necessarily like how we see it, because it is like that if we were to change our clocks to the 23-hour and 56-minute cycle. Then it would be every day we would see solar noon would be at the exact same time every day for every person on Earth.
Okay, well, I'm fucking lost on this shit because what I'm asking is, you can Google this shit.
Okay.
And it says you can see this many constellations year round. It doesn't make a fuck if you're right here, right here, right here. Say this is the fucking sun.
Okay.
We'll give
Okay.
last follow-up question.
Okay.
And, you know, like you said, you only have such a
Right.
to see. Okay. Right here, son, I shouldn't see shit that I saw over here. Or over there, right here, right here.
But we see it all year round.
But I see it year round.
But that's the thing, you should see it all year round because if
I'm done.
you should see it all year round. Well, you should see it all year round, except for there's some that will be visible during the daytime that you will not be able to visually see. So you, from being on this earth and looking up into the sky and saying, I don't see this constellation when it's supposed to be up at noon, isn't really a valid point to be saying, well, that's just proof that stars prove that the earth is flat. That's just ignorance.
Thank you very much. We'll go to another online question or two, and then I promise we'll go to the next audience question. So thank you very much. Sarah, Stupid Whore Energy, as she calls herself. Glad to see you. She's
Good to see you, Sarah.
She's a troll. She says, Big Dipper actually does make a small circle on the sky as the Earth turns on its axis.
Yeah, every night.
Okay, I think in that case she's trying to answer a question rather than ask one. Maynard Saves asks, Nathan, you have answers to every conspiracy theory. Why hasn't the government shut you down or up yet? Could it be because you're just plain wrong?
Yeah, I don't know why the government hasn't shut me down yet.
You got it? Thank you very much. We're going to go to a person.
Can I answer that question?
Hold on, just to.
No one asked you.
I worry that we might go into another discussion section, but go ahead.
You're not that important.
So, Nathan, a question and a comment. The question is, why, explain moon phases and why does everyone that sees them see the same moon phase exactly at the same percentage at the same time? My second is a comment. I don't care what you think. I do care what you say, because your ignorance and arrogance is a disease.
If we can get the question and answer the questions.
Oh, man, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was going to be a good one.
Okay.
Join all the other trolls in my comment section. Yeah.
You'll get blocked.
Cool.
You'll get blocked.
Yeah. Keep your feelings to
called
yourself. This isn't a
cognitive
dating
dissonance.
show, okay? I don't care how you feel about me.
Just a second. Okay. So,
God, dude. What a joke.
I think there was a question.
Yeah, he wanted to know how moon phases work because he thinks moon phases prove we're on a spinning tilted ball. Okay? The moon is its own light. The light is putrefying.
They said, why you can't zoom in on the sun, or why can't you zoom in on the sun once it sets?
You can. Daryl Marble showed that in his presentation when we flew to South Korea and spoke about flat Earth in South Korea. So if you want to see that happen, look up Daryl Marble's video when we flew to South Korea. It's in there. Next question.
Gotcha. Any other in-person questions? Gotcha.
Team Skeptic, can you please tell me what your evidence is of the distance of the sun in relation to the Earth?
Yeah. Okay. So there's an easy way to calculate. Well, it's not easy if you're not very well mathematically informed, or if you don't have the proper astronomical viewing devices. But if you understand how, our celestial geometry, you can then use the orbits of planets like Venus to calculate where your position is relative to that planet. And then you can also use Kepler's laws of motions to use the observations of Venus to determine its distance from the sun. Using all these observations and applying just a little bit of mathematical, trigonometry, you can then begin to calculate distance to the sun using objects in the sky. There's other ways of doing it by using, sticks and shadows. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people like this guy don't like that, but it is a way of doing it because if the Earth is shaped a certain way, then there should be a certain observation, and if the Earth is shaped a different way, there should be a different observation. the same thing goes. Look, if
They didn't prove
you're
distance
out
to
there
sun
and
with
you're a
sticks
flat
and
earther,
gyres.
and I'm sure you've got 10 flat earth friends around the globe, okay? You got 10 flat earth friends around this amazing globe. You guys can test this for yourself. You can go and you can put sticks in the ground and you can each tell each other what the angle of the shadow is. The angle of the shadow doesn't tell you the length of anything. It just tells you where the sun is in the sky. Now go plot that out, okay? Lay down a piece of paper, take a string, take anything, and
Those works on both models, a flat Earth and a round Earth. Any comment on that?
yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson is somebody who's an educator and entertainer, and a lot of times he'll say things that can be misinterpreted by people like you and misused by people like you. The idea is this right here. You take 2 sticks on a flat earth, you can't tell anything. Hold on one second. You take 2 sticks on a flat earth, you can make any 2 observations and say, yes, these match. But you add a 3rd stick, you come to a problem. You add a 4th stick, you get an even bigger problem. You add a 5th stick, you get an even bigger problem. Using the stick method alone is not going to give you any valid data as long as you have 1 stick. It's once you start adding more sticks, once you start increasing your data points, then you can get a true understanding of what you're actually dealing with. Go check out the video we did with Sly Sparkane and all the people across the planet. I'll even give it to you. I will stop calling it a globe for all you flat earthers out there. I'll call it the planet. We did this. We did the observations, we plotted the observations, and we came to one conclusion. The earth is not flat, and it's a globe.
Were there any assumptions? Like the distance
No,
to the
no
sun?
assumptions. Zero assumptions. We just measured the position of the sun in the sky.
Yeah, where's the refraction index for each individual observer?
1 second. We're gonna go with.
Oh no, your refraction is taken into account on all that. The deal with refraction is this right here. When an object is coming in, well,
Hold on a second. 1 second.
okay, well we have it online. You can definitely look. Sly Sparkane, go on his channel. We plotted everything out. We even have all the data points for anybody that wants to check it out. See how we plotted out.
It works
Go
both
on there and
models.
watch it yourself. I'm not going to say I don't know what's all the data that's on there to answer the question honestly, but I can tell you that all the data points that we took are on that individual video. And if you feel like the video is in any error whatsoever, please make a video or comment about it, because we put it out there just as an open thing. We didn't ask people to make an assumption of anything. Just take a measurement of where the position of the sun in the sky is and send it to us, and we plotted it.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. Another might have to might be abbreviated as we do just a few more. Michaelion, thanks for your super chat. They said, I'm a marine engineer and electrical engineer with extremely high degrees and am one of the few people to quote-unquote circumnavigate the supposed globe. Why does the horizon always rise to eye level no matter the elevation? It's flat.
Whoa.
Okay, so we've already done the test as well. Go to Sean Hufford's channel. He did the test himself. Not to mention, Wolfie 6020 does this in his airplane at extremely high elevations where they can plot the eye level, and then as the plane goes up, you can watch the horizon drop from eye level. But you don't need to go to a plane. You don't need to trust some international pilot or anything like that. You can simply go to Sean Hufford's channel, and he did it himself with a drone. You can also go into the Burj Khalifa, which I know all of us, we can't really do that from here, but at the Burj Khalifa or any tall building, you can go down, and at ground floor, you can witness the sunset, and then you can jump in the elevator, go right back up, and sure enough, that sun comes right back up. You can watch the second sunset.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. Appreciate it, team. Next up, maybe just one or two more. So, any other in-person audience questions? Otherwise, you bet.
We check that. You got me all right? Okay, Nathan. I don't care what you believe. I don't. I do care why you believe it. So my question is not going to be on the science. My question is going to be on where you're coming from. So if I understand correctly from the things I've seen of you, the videos I've watched, and the interactions I've seen you have with other people, you have a predominantly faith-based worldview, correct?
Not at all.
Because the pamphlet that you handed me, that the Christian pamphlet that you handed me, that proposed that. You handed that to me directly at the Flat Earth Convention. You actually handed one to me. I saved it. So that proposed your faith-based worldview, that where you're driving your information about a flat Earth. And
I was a Christian for 10 years, and I thought the Earth was a globe the entire time.
So you're saying that. But you still hold that religious viewpoint. You're still a Christian, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm Christian.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. So your worldview is faith-based. Okay,
Yeah,
well, this
I'm
is where you're
Christian.
driving the base points of your information.
Everyone's worldview is faith-based.
So that
everyone's worldview
it's
is
not.
faith-based.
It's demonstrably
When you
not.
wake up in the morning, do you look at the floor before you put your feet down?
So my question, Nathan, is this:
You don't care what I believe, so why
your
even ask me a question?
worldview. I don't care why you believe.
Okay.
Is what
Yeah.
I'm getting to. Your worldview is faith-based. When faith is demonstrably subjective to each individual, open to interpretation, as we've proven time and time again, as Matt Dillahuntly will prove in his upcoming debate. How can you base a scientific, empirical worldview on a viewpoint that cannot be determined by anything other than your own subjectivity?
The Bible says test all things and hold fast to that which is true. So I did that, and the Earth's not a globe. So that's why I believe
you didn't answer the
Earth's
question.
not a globe.
You're basing an empirical worldview, okay? Yeah, based upon, you're saying that you're holding an empirical worldview based upon a subjective world, where you're coming from is completely subjective.
No.
And open to interpretation.
I was a globehead for 10 years and a Christian. The only reason I'm a flat earther and a Christian now is because I went out and tested the Earth, and it's flat. So my belief in a flat Earth has nothing to do with me being Christian. Yeah, it has only the fact that we see too far, large bodies of water don't curve, Earth's movement's never been proven, all space is fake, it's all cartoons, globers are just emotional, scientifically illiterate window lickers, dude.
Really?
So.
Really? Well, we have an astrophysicist in the crowd that is absolutely lying at you every time you say, "Oh, we got
Where's the astrophysicist? Why isn't he up here debating me?
Why?
Like,
what
give me a
makes
break.
you think it's a he?
Oh, I don't know. Well, why isn't she debating me?
Because she doesn't want to waste her fucking time on a fucking piece of human trash
you
like
do?
you.
But you do?
Hey,
I
talk
appreciate
for
it.
I talk for
Thank
people
you.
like her.
Thanks,
Yeah.
I appreciate you wasting the time on me.
asked to do this.
That was fun, watching you dance.
Next up, thanks for your super chat from Jimmy. This is last question we'll have. So they asked Nathan to explain the Game of Thrones style ice wall. So Nathan, I'm not sure what they're referring to. If there's
So basically, guys, I say this all the time. They put the truth in movies and on the radio, and they put the lies on the news and in the textbooks. So The Matrix was a documentary. The Truman Show was a documentary. We all live in a yellow submarine. The wheel in the sky keeps on turning. The fool on the hill sees the sun going down, and the eyes in his head tell him the earth's spinning round. Okay? So there's lots of truth in TV. There's no truth in the textbooks. You're better off learning where you live from Game of Thrones than Team Skeptic.
You're going to go from there. Just want to say a couple of things. First, thanks so much. Artistic Encounter has been extremely gracious. We really appreciate. They have not asked for anything. So big shout out. Completely for free have hosted us, which is just extremely generous. We want to say thanks so much to our speakers for taking their time, who have also said completely for free that they'd be willing to do this. So we really appreciate them as well. So thank you very much, Nathan and Team Skeptic. And also, thanks so much for the help with the setup from Tom Jump and Steven Steen. Thanks for your questions. I'm so sorry if we didn't get to every question. We definitely appreciate them, though, and want to say thanks so much for your support, as this channel really, it really is kind of your channel, folks. And we want to say thanks so much for all of your help. Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight in person. It's been a true pleasure. So with that, take care. Keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable.